Have you met a poet today? Welcome to day 1 of Waiting to Meet, the series. While waiting to meet our poetic guests, we will be examining excerpts and examples of my own work, from personal essays to actual poems. And yes, I did say we. During this 14-day period, there will be 7 readings, one every other day. On the in-between days, the presented pieces will be analyzed and discussed by not only me, but by you as well. For example, with today's reading, you are encouraged to DM our Instagram account at MetaPoet with HR, that is one word, all of your queries, whether they be about the characters, the larger context, or even the backstage musings. This is a chance to move the conversation further along. Thus, without further ado, let's begin. Today's reading is that of an excerpt from one of my favorite original works, Korbsessel, a novel. He had just put the finishing touches on the homemade vegetarian pizza when he heard her voice come over the intercom. "Teddy, I'm here." "Hey, aren't you 2 hours too early, Akasha?" He wiped his hands in the apron around his waist and pressed the button on his side that would allow her entrance into his home. This is not what he had planned, but at least he would be able to explain himself over a hot meal. He should not have brought up something like that so carelessly. They were still hurting, but he was hopeful that his little surprise for her would ease them into the road of recovery. That is why he did not duck instinctively when Akasha's fist greeted his face upon opening the front door. "You gave them away?" Jürgen staggered backwards and tried not to be too concerned with the blood dripping out of his nose. "I left you. That was my choice. You had no right." She grabbed him by the shoulders, ready to launch her knee into his gut. "And I will never apologize for that." Her left knee swung upward, but he was ready. He blocked the attack and sent her to the floor with a shove. He rushed to the washroom for paper towels, but she was on his trail already. He felt her hands connect with his back as she pushed him into the door. His head hit home, but thankfully he turned around in time to dodge another punch to the face. Akasha groaned loudly, but followed him all the same into his bedroom. The man had left the door open. Amateur. As she eased herself into the unfamiliar space, a pair of hands emerged from the darkness and pulled her flat off her feet. "Ow!" "It serves you right," Jürgen managed, as he pounced and wrestled her arms into submission. It had been a while since he had to fight a romantic partner. 7 years to be exact. He looked down at her to see what he saw usually at times like these. On the surface, there was a fierce warrior princess who devoured her adversaries for lunch. But just below that, there was always the one who was starving for someone to care. That is why he had never laid a hand on her once during their 6 years together. He wanted to protect that part of her, even from himself. "Hit me!" she challenged him on cue. She loved to be manhandled. and hated it. No, he answered equally viciously, and I know that you would never apologize for leaving me. That is like asking you to apologize for who you are. By now, he had forced her arms to cross each other, and he was trying very hard, very, very hard, not to lean forward and down into their natural position. It was easy to fall for her, especially when she was on a rampage trying to kill him. Ignoring the part that is supposed to mean everything to her, Akasha raised her head by a few inches in an effort to bite him. Then let me go. You gave my everything to Sierra. She said that you wouldn't mind. You know better. Which is why I told her to ask you after I gave you what I had in mind. I pray for your sake that this is not another proposal, Akasha whispered, losing steam as the minutes ticked away. She had even stopped struggling against his hold. No, I got you a new assortment of art supplies. But I already have my own assortment of art supplies. That makes no sense. Well, what else are you supposed to give a sculptress who has everything? I just wanted to make it up to you. You don't have to do that, Jürgen, Akasha stated, relaxing her body briefly before sending the man forward with a kick of her knee to his backside. Once he was unstable, she flipped their positions while lowering herself to look him in the eyes directly. In her mind, he looked so pathetic under her, and her heart broke at the thought that she had caused him so much physical and emotional pain. Her head lowered to rest on his chin. Her body heaved. Don't apologize, Jürgen said into her hair softly. You deserve it, not this, she muttered against his throat. At this, he lifted her head slightly to face him. When have you ever stopped me from loving you? Immediately, her body froze. Her eyes opened wide. She didn't like this. The sensitivity, the romance. He pleaded anyway. Akasha, don't. I have to go. She was on her feet in less than a second. Jürgen took some time to right his balance. She reached out thoughtlessly to steady him. He held her wrist. Stay. Her eyes watered. I can't. I will be back later to work on my grandfather's statue. Fine, but take this with you, he said, leaving her side to retrieve a sizable yet heavy cardboard box. Please. She backed away on instinct. What is it? It's a box. Jürgen stared at her blankly until she chuckled in spite of herself. No kidding. What is inside of it? I suppose that you will figure that out when you take it home. Akasha furrowed her brow, quizzically at him. What, you don't trust me? He smiled a sly grin and placed it in her arms. Ha ha, very funny. See you later. She adjusted the box carefully until she had a proper hold on it. Do you want some of this pizza to carry for the family? I made a lot, and knowing Cole, he might just leave it to waste. Her weight shifted. Jürgen. All right. Later then. and end scene. I read it without context on purpose. What do you want to know about this scene, this novel? What stood out to you? What is your perspective? All of your comments and questions are welcome at MetaPoet with HR on Instagram. And again, if you or someone you know is interested in hashing it out about one of their own original pieces of writing, please email me at metapoet.org@gmail.com. That is metapoet.org@gmail.com. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to all of your feedback on this episode. Please remember to like the episode, subscribe to the channel, and share it. Till day 2, keep writing. Today, I met a poet, and it was me.